What is my feeling of I? What is my feeling of I? When I use the word I, what do I mean? Supposing a child is born and he has a certain feeling of I. I hungry, I nappy's wet, etc., etc. Then slowly the feeling of I shifts from whatever his feeling of I is to what? To his name, to the name. So there's a shift of the feeling of I to the name, and we have to train the child, right, to respond when we call its name, the child's name, right? So the naming of the child, he'll put his hand like this and then call the child by that name. Now, what is the feeling of I when somebody calls my name? Supposing I get a degree from college, then when somebody calls my name, my feeling of I, does it include that degree? See, in the old days, you've not seen those days, but in the 1960s and very early 70s, people used to write their degree behind the name. So I wouldn't say Rajan, but I'd say Rajan BA. BA, right? And I remember only in the whole of Madhupur, which was a city at that time, a town of 10,000 people in 1974, only one person had had a degree. So whenever he would say his name, he would say, "This is the name BCom," right? BCom. So when we use the word I, that degree is included. Is heritage included? Right? I have a lot of friends, and especially we have a what do you call WhatsApp group. And because I grew up with them, most of them are Rajput friends, and they keep on putting of their heritage. This did this, and this did this, and everything. Right? So what do we, when I use the word I, what do I mean by the word I? Hmm? Supposing my bank balance increases, when I use the word I, do I feel my bank balance in it? Yes. Can you see? Now, so there is a real I, there's a relative I, and there's a false I, right? So I, the bank balance is true or false? False. But still that feeling is there when I say I, that, oh, I have so much of bank balance, right? So we want to move from a wrong feeling of I to a real feeling of I. This is a very long journey, very, very long journey. From a wrong feeling of I to a real feeling of I. Has that, I don't see that yesterday, that girl who was here, what was her name? Swati. You're here. Okay. Okay. I'm speaking for you. Now, there is an I which is in linear time. That is the name given to me. And there is an I which is imaginary. My degrees and everything, all my money and everything comes in that. But, right. Now, why do I react in life? Why do I get upset in life? Why do I, what do you call, become negative in life? Identification, but in as in feeling of I take it personally, but say you have called me a name. You have said you are like this, right? Why do I react? Because in my feeling of you have said you're an idiot, right? And my feeling of does not include idiot. If it included idiot, I'd say, of course, I know, right? I'm looking at the idiot, right? There'd be no problem. But the feeling of does not include the idiot, or he may call you're a very selfish person, right? So I feel upset. Yeah, how can he call me selfish? I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to. How can he call me selfish, right? But my feeling of does not include selfish. Can you understand? So, with a rise in consciousness, what comes? What comes? The feeling of expands and it changes, it transforms. Transforms. As I move more from the false part of myself to the real part of myself, the feeling of changes. Then when I use the word I don't will not include my bank balance. But when I use it shows I've got so much money in the bank. Don't fool around with me. Right? Okay. So that is an imaginary part. Gurdjieff calls it as imaginary I. Imaginary I. Now, so we move from the false part of to a relative I. What is a relative I? Related to the present moment. Related to the present moment. Right? So my son comes in front of me and I become a father. So there's a feeling of I as father, right? But that is related to son. It is not real I, but it is more real than I with so much money. Can you understand? Or I have so many friends, or my name in the newspaper. Can you understand? So I have shifted from my imaginary feeling of my name in newspaper, so many friends, so much money, to a more what you call real part of myself, which is my relative I. My relative I. So when I use the word I'm now relating it to the role I'm playing in life. See, try to understand. Deep down in us, deep down in us, there is a beggar. And we have to, what do you call, uh, observe that beggar, and over a long period of observation, that beggar goes away. Right? Supposing you meet me, right? And yesterday my name has come in the paper, then what is my beggar asking? Huh? You should mention it. You should talk about it. Right? If you meet me and you don't talk about it, I'm going to feel hurt. Can you see? So that my name has come in the paper is that when I say I to you, I'm asking you that you please talk about. Yesterday my name was mentioned in the newspaper. Okay. Am I coming across in this? Right? We go in a room full of people. The beggar is asking, please talk a little about me also. Don't talk about this thing. Uh, Talk about me also. I also want to get appreciated. Right? So, this I is a false I. Right? That we start living a relative I. So, I'm talking to you just now. Now, supposing I'm talking to you, oh, I know everything and I'm giving my precious knowledge, then am I in a relative I or am I in an imaginary I? Imaginary I, right? But have a feeling as a friend who's just sharing something, then I move from an imaginary I to a relative I. So each moment when we use the word I, we have to look inside what do we mean? What do we mean? And make a practice to come from the imaginary side of life to the relative side of life. It is not the real side of life, but it is the real in this moment. Pertaining to this moment, it is real, right? So, in this moment, you and I are friends. If my son is here, he and I are father and son, right? Or if my boss is here, then he are employee and employed. Can you understand everything what I'm trying to say? Right? So all these roles which we play in the drama of life, they are what you call our relative eyes, and we must be able to experience those relative eyes when we use the word I. Now, as we move from the false I to the relative I, we now have an inquiry. What is the real I? What is the real I? And the real I opens up in stages. It opens up in stages, right? So, how does Gurdjieff tell us to feel the real I? He gives us the technique. There is a sensitivity. I'm holding that sensitivity as presence, right? And I'm talking to you. But what about real I? Is this all, or do we have to do something more for real I? Do we have to do something more for real I? Is it clear till now? Yeah. Right? What, at this point, we have reached this point, we can divide our attention. One arrow of attention is on the drama. We use the word avtaran. There is no exact parallel word in the English language. Now, of course, in the Oxford Dictionary, they have included the word avatar, right? But there is a descent. It comes from a higher source. It fills our being. It fills our being. But the click over here is that it has to be asked. This asking in English is called invocation. એનું ગુજરાતીમાં કહીએ તો એનું આવાહન કરવું પડે છે.